This is the Lake Tahoe painting, number 2. The original photograph just has some streaks in the sky, so I painted in clouds. The sky is painted the same way that I painted the number 1 Lake Tahoe painting. So I'm going to start painting the mountains, and I'm going to use my round brush, and I'm going to use the ultramarine and white. So it's sort of a purpley color. I'm going to mix that together. You can also put the violet in there. It really just depends on what shade you want for your mountains. I'm going more purple, more purpley blue. Okay. And I'm going to start by just following that top line that I had traced from the handout. And I know there's some snow in there, but that's okay. I'm going to paint that later. I'm going to paint down to that line. That's where the island begins. So when you're painting the mountains, you don't need to put in too much detail. You don't see too much detail in this photo. Let me go back to, I need to look at the photo. Okay, there you go. And so, let's see. I see some snow along the top, some along the bottom. So I'm painting this all in kind of flat. Not really worried about any shading yet. I do have to paint down to where the lake starts. Okay, so this has to be a straight line. Okay, now I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm going to blot it off on the paper. I'm going to get some white, and now I'm going to paint in the mountains. You can see some detail where it's, lighter and darker in areas, especially on the top there. Okay, I see some snow kind of on the sides, like this. If you want to wait until this paint dries, that's okay too. See some snow along this ridge, kind of smaller areas here. So I don't need to paint it exactly how I see it in the photo. I just want to show an impression that there's snow on the mountains. Some over here. And some of the snow is it's in shadow. So I'm going to take this white and sort of mix it with the blue that's still wet. Or if it's dry, I'm just going to mix a lighter blue, just paint that part in. Just get the top. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the water. The water is really glassy, which means it's really smooth. You don't see a lot of waves, but I'm going to put some waves in there or some ripples just to show that it really is water. So I'm going to use that same color that I used for the mountains. I'm going to just mix up more of it. And I'm going to paint below. I'm going to leave a small little white line right there between the two because that's what I see. It must be the shore from far away. I'm going to paint using horizontal strokes. I'm using the round brush. You can use the flat brush as well. Oops. Now I'm going to rinse out my brush, blot it. I'm going to get the white paint and I'm going to, you can see where there's like that white of the mountain is being reflected into the water. So again, I'm going to still brush with horizontal strokes, blending in the wet paint at the same time. So this white is blending in with the blue. I'm going to, if I want it smoother, I'm going to take my brush and just go back and forth, just like that, to blend it out. Okay? If I want to change the shape, I just go back with my blue again and just add more blue where I want it. Okay. Then the blue changes color from the mountain color back to the sky color. So I'm going to not wait until this paint is dry. I'm going to get it blended in while that paint that I just used is still wet. I'm going to brush back and forth. You can switch to the flat brush too. It might be a little faster, a little bit easier to go back and forth. I'm going to avoid that area where that little rock pile is in the water. If I paint over the edges of it, that's fine. So the main thing while painting water is that you keep these strokes going horizontal so that it looks flat. You don't want to paint going in a different direction like that. You really want to keep it going back and forth. The more strokes you see, the water will look more turbulent. So I'm painting over where my trees will be. I will repaint those at a later time. This is sort of just my first layer of water that I'm getting down. Looks like in the photo this gets much darker blue right down here. So my paint is getting somewhat tacky as it dries. So what I'm doing is I'm dipping my brush in the water and then I'm brushing it on top so I keep that paint flowing much more loosely so I can get it blended in. So there I have the start of the water. So the next thing I'm going to do is paint the rocks and the snow and then the trees on that little island there. I don't want to paint all those rocks. And so I'm going to simplify it. What I need to do is I need to see that I'm going to have white for the snow in sunlight, but then I need to make a shadow for the snow that's obviously in shadow. And then I also need at least 2 shades of the rock color. So I'm going to mix, you're going to need a little bit of red, just a tiny bit, which you may not have on your palette, so that you can make the rock color. So I'm going to mix the blue and a tiny bit of that cadmium red, and then I'm going to mix the lemon yellow. And I have to adjust this. Now I got a green, okay? So if I have green, I need to get more red to make that into a brown. And now if it's too red, I need to get a little, put a little more blue in there, put a more yellow. So you have to adjust it, keep adjusting it until you get kind of a brown color. That still looks too green, so I'm going to get some red, mix it in there, add some white, see what color I'm getting. Okay, I'm getting kind of a grayish brown. That's a good color. Okay, and I'm going to need 2 shades of this. So I'm going to need the shadow and the light shade. So I'm going to pick up a little more white, and I'm going to mix. Okay, so I have a darker and a lighter. I dip my brush in water because the paint's getting kind of tacky. All right, so I'm going to go back and I'm just going to start painting where I want some rocks, right along that bottom shoreline of the island. I'm not really painting exactly what I see. I'm just making these shapes first. I know it goes out and the picture sort of cuts off, but I don't want to paint rocks all the way across. That's not the picture I want. So, and then there's some rocks up here that go along the edge. Those are a lot darker. So I think I'm going to get my darker brown, sort of go along there. And I know the trees are there, but I'm going to ignore the trees for right now. Those are all in shadow. So where it's really in shadow, I'm going to get some blue, mix it into that brown that I made, get the red. It's kind of purpley now. So a little bit of yellow to dull that out. Now I have a much darker kind of brown color. Okay, and then some few spots really dark in there. A lot of this is just trees in the background that are making that dark color, right back here. And then there's a few spots. Okay, so the key to painting the rocks is that you need one side that's going to be in shadow and one side that's going to be light. And so that's why I have the two different shades of brown. Okay, I need to make more. Okay, so just whichever side you choose, just make sure that one side is going to be lighter. I think I want this side to be lighter. So that's going to be my left side. The other thing is don't make them all identical. Okay, right? They have to be, some are bigger, some are smaller. Put in darker. Okay. Once I've painted the rocks, I'm going to go back in with the snow. Remember, you need two different shades of snow. You're going to have the white, and then you're going to have a shadow in the snow, which needs to be kind of like a light purple sort of color. Okay, I'm going to next paint this shadow for this snow. I'm going to paint right along the edge of those rocks in the background. I'm going to put in the shadow first, like this, and then I'll paint the snow on top. I know I still have to do the trees, and then once you do the trees, you're going to have to go back and paint more snow. Okay, so I have to look at the picture here. Okay, shadow looks like it's all in this area where there were trees. Okay, and there's more detail in there, I know. I just haven't painted it yet. Okay, and then I'm just going to get the white, and it's just going to have the tiniest amount of that purple in there, just so it's not pure white. And I'm going to paint around my rocks. And I'll continue doing this until I'm finished. You can talk. I'll just cut out all the volume, all the sound. hmm Um, there's a whole like a bucket can thing of them on the shelf over there. Do you see them? hmm There isn't there a whole can of black ones? No, no, not that one. It's like a silver can.
I don't think it's anywhere around.
Okay, hold on. I can't get it for you right now because I'm recording myself.
Can you go the right there?
I don't know if you really do. You need to work on that right away? Did you finish your landscape painting? Did you finish your landscape painting? Okay.
How do you make color for sand?
Um, I think in the video it does tell you that, right? In the background. I think it's yellow ochre, but you can just use this one too. But I can get you yellow ochre if you want. I think it's like yellow ochre and blue. Yellow ochre is not around there.
Is yellow or slightly orangish? Or is it the bright yellow?
No, I don't have it out.
Oh.
You made a face. He is a Gina.
So can they make the reflection bigger because of the like it is like becoming more
Can I whisper to you?
like it's becoming more
You can make the reflection larger.
because it becomes more
It can larger as it gets closer to you.
and
Yeah.
also it becomes
Was it
more smooth
like us?
in the water. So where it's not like so it can make things bigger because of the like colors of the like mountains can mix with colors of the water and
And you're right, it becomes smoother.
Indian dessert.
And you can paint it like I didn't paint it like I see it with the streaks, but you can. Like the streaks going down.
You know what that is?
yeah, we have it.
We have it too. It's like butter and like I'll maybe put sugar and salt in it. Yeah, me too. Maybe it's different. It's like you put butter and sugar. Yeah, exactly. Mix it together and it becomes like it's not. Nope. And it's flour and sugar. You want to use it? Are you? You're okay with that? Oh. It's sticky. You want it in your hand? Here. Okay, sorry. She just ate it like with Today's New Year's. We did it yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Diwali. Today's New Year's. Oh. We did it yesterday. I lit up the candles and I've been doing the firecracker.
Oh, we're doing fire. Like we did some yesterday. We're doing it mostly.
Maybe you're doing it for the New Year's. Oh yeah. I'm sleeping right now. I know, right? I'm so excited for Norms. Yeah. I didn't have to get my expanders. He's giving it to me on December 6th. All right. And we should, when it snows, we should go to the sauna together. Like actually together. Oh yeah, it snowed in Saratoga last year. Oh yeah, in the mountains. Whatever. What? Like right here in the mountains. Like so random. The one you can see when you're on the grass. Oh, it snowed? It like actually snowed in Saratoga. Like, yeah, I know. Yeah. Like, what does that have to do? I thought you were talking about. No, I heard you say. I thought you said like no. You said no. What? Persian. It is.
Yeah, I remember that you like went to.
What? Your birthday's like.
Whenever you were Hudson and Aura, I just didn't pick one and never know.
No, it was this March. It's on my brother's birthday.
Hers is March 22nd.
No, isn't it change? It is?
Or is it on a specific day every year?
It's near, I know it's near March 31st.
Ours
It's my
change based on. Should I search it?
Like that, the Sona thing is on March 31st. I remember every year. No, that's charged. I'm just
March 20th.
March 20th. Really? Oh, that's so exciting.
It's 2 days from my birthday. Yeah, it's tough with our things. No, they're not. Really? We're not like.
The next step is to do the trees. And so what I do is I first start by painting the trunk so I know where to place the trees. You can put less trees in the painting than in the photo, or you can put just as many. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you. I'm going to mix ultramarine blue. Hard to see on the camera, I know. And I'm going to mix, sorry about that. And I'm going to mix yellow to make a dark green. This is lemon yellow. Dark green. Okay. And then I want a lighter version of that same color, so I'm just going to mix another separate little patch of lighter green right there. It's not that much different. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to get my dark green and I'm just going to draw a trunk where I want my tree to be. Okay. Let's see if I can make that darker. Okay. And let's say I want another tree here. So I want one there. I can also adjust the height. If I want this one a little shorter. I want one, let's see, over here. I think there's some bushes or a clump of smaller trees in the photo. Look, yeah, it's like thicker towards the corner or towards the outside. Here, there's like another one. Okay, I'm just going to start with that many trees. So I'm using the darker green and I'm going to switch brushes and I'm going to use a flat brush, and this is a small flat brush and you can get one from me or you might find one over where the brushes are. I'm going to actually what we call stipple. Okay, I'm going to tap the brush just on the end. Okay, going up. And generally it'll be wider at the base and then taller as it gets higher. Okay? Or up towards the top of the tree. Okay, so I'm going to do this again. I sort of want it irregular. I don't want it too much the same because then it won't look natural if it's too perfect. And I want to leave spaces between the branches. I don't want to fill in all of it. And then I'm going to use that lighter green. I'm going to pick up that green just on the tip of the brush again. And I'm going to tap on top just so I get some variety in the color. Okay, so that's how I do the trees. You can make these as big or as small as you want. And then if you want to go back, which I'm going to do, with a small round brush, okay, like this, and then I can kind of maybe fix up some areas where I want more of a point. Okay, all right. And then once I get the trees in, I'm going to, again, use those same colors. And I want to reflect those same colors into the water. So I'm going to paint horizontal strokes, and I don't need to make it super exact. I know in the photo it's pretty much mirrored in the water, but I just want to show that this is a reflection and I'm not going to make it too perfect, too exact. But I do want to paint horizontal strokes because remember this is water, so we always paint it with horizontal strokes to show that this is something that is flat. Okay, I wanted to show you another way of painting the tree that I thought would be helpful. So I mixed up that same dark green that I used before, and I'm going to paint a new tree somewhere here. Let me decide where a good spot would be. I'm going to paint it here. Okay, so I paint the trunk first, just like that. And what I learned is using this small round brush was really helpful for getting in detail. And then the other thing is I had to mix up a lot of paint and have it on my brush for it to work. And then I went back and I'm using that same technique where I'm just sort of stippling or dabbing on with the tip of the brush back and forth, kind of in a horizontal movement. But the difference is using this round brush instead of the flat brush. And this way, I could also get that tip of the round brush to do really small areas to get those details in, especially way at the top of this tree where I really wanted it a very fine point and a very fine line. Okay, so um, so you can use this round brush, but just remember you have to have a lot of paint on there for it to work. Otherwise, it's too thin and the paint underneath shows through. And I want this nice and solid. So I had to go over these trees like a few times, like going over them once they were painted for them to be really nice and solid. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to do is just go around on the island to put in the shadows. Oops, where see how like I painted a tree there, but there's no shadow right there. So I'm gonna mix up this purple, like very light lavender color, and go underneath the trees and sort of touch up where the snow is, and then work on my reflections, and that should be all. And I'll show you the final result.